Morning and welcome to Soul Food and Grace. My name is Jena Harris, and I am passionate about helping faith-based entrepreneurs and individuals find purpose and share their soul stories with the world. Welcome. I'm so happy to have you join today, whether you're listening recent here in 2020, or maybe you found this and you're listening to the replay. However, and whenever you receive the message, I just know that it is divine timing. I'm so happy that you're here. So we are reading the New Testament and we are on day 22. It's currently January 22nd and 2020. And today we're reading Luke 20 through 22, and I'm going to be talking a little bit about that. And then tomorrow we're going to be on Luke 23 and 24 and start John. So we'll be reading John 1. How incredible is that? It feels as though it's just moving along so quickly. So I would like to change things up a little bit. I'm feeling led to just sharing something that I listened to yesterday that I found relevant to kind of this, and also where I feel that God has been guiding me, and also the message, the messaging and stuff. So before we start, I usually end in prayer, but today I just feel like I want to start with prayer. Okay, so dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for today. Thank you for waking us, and thank you for waking us early for some of us who are getting up early and seeking your word, Lord. May this message today be received in such a perfect way for the viewers and the listeners who are tuning in. May you make this message their message and relevant to what they are going through in their life, Lord. I know that you have a way of doing that, of taking one message and making it in so many different ways, being relevant to us. And so I thank you for that, Lord. And may you reveal yourself to each of us today, so we may grow closer to you, Lord, so we may dig into the word, your word, and the path that you have for us. And we thank you. We love you. We are so grateful for you, Lord. And we're grateful for this time and the growth that's happening within each and every one of us. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, so we're in this message. We're reading, it's the last days right before Jesus's crucifixion. And so, I found that, Luke goes kind of deep into a different perspective. And it does say here, I'll read a highlight because what I'm going to share today may take a little more time, so I don't want to read the whole thing, but it is the Q&A part of this. It says, simple stories with a profound point. Luke, a master storyteller, collected 18 parables that appear nowhere else, and he also retold some of the most familiar. While Matthew emphasizes the parable of the kingdom, Luke adds those that focus on people, the Good Samaritan, a persistent widow, the lost son. His parables speak to heavy subjects, but in an unexpectedly disarming way. Jesus' style of handling tough questions contrasts sharply with Paul's. The Apostle Paul wrapped concepts in theological words and gave formal explanation. In careful prose, he patiently probed such complex words as forgiveness and justification. Jesus, speaking to relentless crowds of thousands, communicated the same message in 3 progressive stories: the lost sheep, the lost coin, and the lost son. Scottish Christians like to call the last story the Wonderful Father. One of my favorite songs is The Good Father, the Good Father. I think it's by Chris Tomlin. Or is it Chris Tomlin? Chris Tomlinson. Anyway, something like that. But actually, there's a guy that, in my opinion, sings it much better. And look at me going on a side tangent already today, but his name is Brandon Holt. If you look up Brandon Holt, the good father, oh my gosh, the way he gets in it, give you shivers all down your body. Okay, life questions. What one question would you most like to ask Jesus in person? Given how he handled tough questions like Luke, can you imagine how he might respond to yours? And, thinking about what we just read, a lot of the teachers and stuff were coming up to him and trying to trap him, right? Asking him questions about Caesar's tax and stuff to trip him up, to arrest him. And so, he was getting asked a lot of tough questions, and he was always mindful about who was listening. And obviously he's Jesus, so he was, a few steps ahead of them. But I think about today, and when we go through those hard times in our life, we have those questions, right? For God, we can question, like, what is the purpose of this? I've asked that question so many times, as I'm sure you have as well. Yesterday on the way to LSU, and actually there's so much that happened yesterday. I would really love to share it, because part of what I know that God really wants me to bring into these is making it relevant, right? And sharing, even if it's uncomfortable, sharing parts of my story, because I just feel that even though our stories are different, there's elements of it that are similar. And so, yesterday I just had some stuff going on, as we all do, right? And I was just praying about it, and I was feeling led to listen to a message from Priscilla Schreier. And I don't know if you know her. Oh my gosh, talk about soul food for me. She always, it doesn't matter what message I listen to with her, she's always right on point. She's just incredible, and she can really give me chills on every message. But anyway, she played in The War Room, if you remember that, and she in real life is a pastor. So you could look her up. If I remember, I'll put the video below. But she shared something, and there was no mistake. I was listening to it, which is why I feel led to share in today's message. But she was sharing, and I have my notes here so I can not miss a part of the story. But and this goes to the point of, as I was sharing, we may not understand the things that are going to be happening, as the disciples felt too, right? Like they're at their last supper, and he's sharing, the things that were to come, and kind of preparing them, right? And I can only imagine they were like, why? Why can't we fight back? Like, in Luke, it shares how, one of them cut one of the ears off of the teachers that were coming to arrest him. And, Jesus healed it. And, so they were confused. They were like, you're God. Why wouldn't you stop this? They didn't have that deeper understanding. And a lot of times we may never understand. That's my point. We may never understand, but there are times where he will reveal it, but it's in the most divine timing, right? It's in a time where it's like, and that's what happened to me yesterday. Not only did I receive this message, I went into LSU with a prayer and a thought and for what reason, Lord? And literally within, let's see, I think it was within the first hour of being at LSU, I was convicted in such a profound way. And I can't share too much because there is personal information that isn't mine, so I can't share that part. But what I can say is it was very specific, and not only was it specific, the person that was delivering the message, they have no idea who I am. They have no idea what I do on the side, because anyways. It's not anyone that works at LSU, but they specifically said they repeated a verse in Luke. Okay, first of all, what are the chances of it being Luke? And second, because this person literally, you guys, does not know me. And so God will come in. Jesus will come in those ways where letting you know that, if you're questioning, here's a sign. But gosh, I could speak on this so much, because on that note, we really, in our humanness, we are always looking for signs, and that's not always good either. And I actually did not pray for a sign, but I felt like those are the times when I pray for signs, and I may not always get them, but the times where I'm just praying, it will be like boom, and it hit my spirit so strongly that it was like, you can't deny it, right? And those are the reasons I feel so passionate about doing this, as uncomfortable as I may be, you guys. This is why, because the way that God shows up when we are open and when we give the wheel to God, it's a game changer. Okay, so getting back on task because I'm already at 10 minutes. Okay, so she came on and delivered this message, and it goes into that whole thing about being fiercely faithful in our life. And not, we may not understand or know, but he will reveal it, right? He will reveal it, which is another reason why that was my prayer today for you. Okay, so her story was that, so she got invited to speak, right? She, as I'm sure she gets lots of opportunities, and she shared how, one of just the kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Just the things that they do. I'm not, my brain is still partly asleep this morning. Kind of their admin stuff that they do is they ask how many people will be there. And she said, it doesn't matter. I don't care if I'm speaking to 10 people or 5,000 people. It's more because they like to send stuff before she gets there. And so they want to make sure that they have enough supplies. That's one of the reasons that they ask. And so also, when I'm sure when she prays about it and everything, that she's, really tuning into who's coming. So it was supposed to be 300 people. So they sent all of the supplies there ahead of time. And this particular time, she shared that, she was feeling a little bit, out, not herself. She was really, sad that her husband couldn't join her. She said that, she's made it a point that her family travels with her when she does speaking, arrangements, that her kids are with her. Her husband's always with her. This particular time, they could not come. And so she was kind of down about it. She was just really in her feelings, which we're all human, right? She's allowed to do that. And so she was already praying like, God, help me, be with me. She didn't feel prepared, all of those things. So as she walked in, she not only found that it was supposed to be for 300, it was about 40 people. It was either I think, was it a women's conference? Anyways, I guess that's not important, but she said that it hit her, not that it was 40 people, but she looked over at the side of the room and she could see all of the supplies that they had sent for 300 people, just like boxes being stacked. And her feeling the way that she already felt, she was in that moment going, okay, Lord, I need to understand what the reason is for all of this, why I'm feeling the way I am, all of the questions that she was already feeling, right? She was asking for Jesus to reveal the answer to her, because she was wanting to understand the purpose of it. So, and again, all she could be focused on at that time, she kept saying she was just so focused on how she was going to get it back on the plane, all of this supplies and all this stuff, how she was going to make that happen. And she was feeling stress in that moment. She was still feeling lonely, and, all of those emotions about, her family not being there. And she said that, she did the message and she delivered the message, and she was still praying, okay, Lord, it's almost over. You still haven't kind of shared with me what this is all about, And at the very, very end, I guess the pastor of the church, she had come up and she was, saying her prayer. And she began saying, calling out about this, woman that was there. I think she said her name was Elizabeth. And she said that, she was lifting her in prayer, and this woman was weeping. And Priscilla said, and I just got flooded with goosebumps, but she said, she had never, ever in her life experienced the kind of prayer, the kind of things that began taking place. People began praying over her. They began, just really, really coming to their knees, and everyone coming together. And she kind of talked about that, that it's not in those numbers. And that was not even where her focus was. But she she said that she had never ever experienced it like that, and the way that God showed up to her and revealed himself to her, like through her spirit. She said, she described it, she was on the floor in a fetal position because of the power of God was so profound in that room. She'd never experienced anything like it. And of course she tells this story so much better because it was her story, right? It's not my story to tell. But I share that because it was so profound, because I listened to that message literally on my way to LSU, and it touched me so much. All I kept saying was, wow, wow. I was trying to find a parking spot, and the crazy university parking that it was, it allowed me a little bit more time to finish this message. And as I was digesting it, I was like, wow, she had, it's just so amazing because, and again, I'm going to repeat, like I said, he may not always reveal. But the thing is, she trusted and she kept doing it anyway. She kept going forward. And, as she said, and I believe this too, because as she was sharing, I also feel very strongly about this that I'm doing here, even though it's for you guys too, it's soul food for you guys, right? But it's for me. The messages that God gives, it comes through me first. So of course it's through me. And as my prayer today is, it comes through me, it goes out. I pray that message goes, and is delivered in the way that is relevant for you guys. But, she knows that too. And she knew that every time she gets up on, the stage, she's talking and she's sharing the message, it's also for her. And so she was searching for that in her own grief or her own feelings of how it was that she was feeling. And so, the fact was, at that particular time, God did show up, and he did show, this is exactly where I needed you to be. And it, again, it doesn't matter about the supplies or the people. But then again, she may have, had she known it would have been 40 people, even though I do trust and believe her, that doesn't sway her, but it may have if she knew her family couldn't travel. Do you know what I mean? She may have wanted to reschedule it, right? But God needed her. God needed her there right then. And so where is it in your life that God has, done things? And maybe you haven't even reflected on it. Maybe that's part of your processing today. Where is it where maybe you made it smaller than it really is because he needed you. And we can take those moments, like in our lives, those day-to-day things that we think we're not doing anything grandiose or big. I blogged about it yesterday, about this grandiose thing, because interestingly enough, my son and I, even hours before when I took him to school, we had a thing. It was a little bit different of a message, but we do have a thought that we have to do these big things to make an impact, and we really don't. We take these small things in our life that we think are meaningless, right? In our day right now, with everyone on social media, and it's how, perfect your Instagram looks, or how many followers you have, or all this, and how your life does or doesn't look, and how people can get really caught up in all of that. And it's like we forget about the importance of the little things that are really not little, but we define them as little. It's the doing the dishes, it's the driving their kids to school, that you're changing their life. You're changing their life. It's that, looking at the teller, looking at her in the eyes and just saying something nice to her, that maybe she's just really at the end of her rope. And it's those little things. We change the world by one person at a time. And so I just feel, gosh, I wasn't going to share that, but I do feel that is for someone. Don't underestimate what God has you doing in your life. Okay. All right. And so, yes, again, a 20-minute message. I guess this is my jive here. As uncomfortable as I was in day one, it's turning into be, Yeah, pretty cool. Pretty cool. So I hope this is something where you can also see within your life if there's those things that you have been saying, oh, I just can't do it. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Do you hear me? Yes, you can. And I believe in you and I love you. And we'll see you again tomorrow. I'm proud of you making it to day 22. We got this, right? 365 days. We're not even going to focus on that. We're going to do bite-sized chunks. We're going to focus on today and the next step in front of us. That is it. That is it. That's how we win, right? I love you guys. We'll see you tomorrow and be blessed.